They appeared picture-perfect to the public, Denmark's King Frederik and Queen Mary, a royal couple whose every glance, gesture, and public appearance seemed to exude the elegance and unity of a modern monarchy. But behind those dazzling smiles, perfectly tailored suits, and glittering gowns lay an emotional storm that was never meant to be exposed to the world. This is the story the royal cameras didn't capture. A story of heartbreak, resilience, betrayal, love, and the unwavering strength of a man fighting to hold together the family he built with the woman he adores. As the palace gates remained shut and protocol tried to preserve silence, the truth leaked out in whispers, Queen Mary's hidden tears and King Frederik's quiet bravery in the face of looming collapse. It all began with subtle changes. The once united appearances of the king and queen began to seem choreographed. Less natural. Where once they moved with seamless unity, now their steps appeared slightly misaligned. Royal observers noticed Queen Mary's increasingly pensive expressions during official engagements. Her smiles no longer lit up her face, her gaze lingered too long in the distance. Something was shifting, something was wrong, and soon, that something would shake the very foundation of Denmark's royal household. In private, Queen Mary, a woman known for her poise, grace, and fierce dedication to her family, was quietly falling apart. Trusted insiders revealed that the Queen had been battling overwhelming emotional strain, torn between her public role and personal despair. Whispers echoed through the marble corridors of Amalienborg Palace that Queen Mary was feeling isolated, even in her own home. The pressures of royal life, the relentless public scrutiny, the responsibility of raising 4 children under a spotlight, and the expectations to maintain perfection were slowly carving cracks into her once iron composure. But it wasn't just internal pressure, it was also the weight of betrayal. Queen Mary had reportedly become aware of King Frederik's private travels and connections that raised questions she never thought she'd have to ask. Photos circulated of Frederik in Madrid, alone, relaxed, and worryingly close to a woman from his past. The public might have dismissed it, but Queen Mary could not. She knew every expression on his face, every change in his demeanor. Something was not adding up, and while King Frederik maintained a stoic front, the silence between them grew louder. Communication between them turned transactional. Their once deep conversations about the future, their children, and shared dreams gave way to schedules, appearances, and carefully rehearsed interactions. Behind closed doors, Queen Mary cried. Her tears, unseen by the public, flowed freely in the arms of her most trusted confidants. She confided in her sisters in Australia, speaking to them in whispered calls late at night. Her heartbreak wasn't just about perceived betrayal, it was about loss. Loss of the intimacy she had with Frederik. Loss of her sense of stability. Loss of the dream she had built from the moment she met him during the Olympics. But the Queen refused to show weakness. She continued to smile for Denmark. She stood tall beside Frederik. She waved, she spoke, she acted, but inside, her heart ached. Then came a moment that changed everything. One morning, without cameras, without aides, King Frederik walked into her private chamber with something rare, vulnerability. Not the polished king, not the heir-turned-monarch, but the man. The man she fell in love with. And for the first time in weeks, Queen Mary saw him, not as the figure who might have hurt her, but as the man who was hurting too. He broke down. He admitted his failings. He admitted that he had lost touch with the woman who once gave up everything for him. That he had allowed the weight of kingship, of legacy, and of personal confusion to cloud his judgment. Frederik didn't make excuses. He made a promise. He told her that nothing, no crown, no legacy, no expectation, was worth more than the family they had built. That he would fight, not just for Denmark, but for her. For their love, for their future. He told her he saw her tears, even when she hid them. That he heard her silence, even when she said nothing. And that he could no longer bear being the cause of her pain. What followed was a courageous, unprecedented decision. Frederik and Mary quietly stepped away from multiple joint engagements. This wasn't to avoid public scrutiny, but to rebuild. To retreat into a space where they could confront their wounds and begin healing. Friends close to the couple revealed that they sought professional counseling, not just to mend their relationship, but to rediscover each other in a space free from royal obligation. And it worked. Slowly, they began reconnecting. Walks through the palace gardens without cameras. Late-night conversations not about duties, but about memories. Rewatching old family videos. Letters Frederik once wrote during their courtship resurfaced in Mary's drawer. He began leaving her notes again, small reminders that despite the chaos, his heart still belonged to her. Meanwhile, Queen Mary took her pain and transformed it into purpose. She deepened her work with the Mary Foundation, channeling her emotional energy into helping others battling domestic violence and emotional trauma. Her speeches took on a new tone, more personal, more urgent. She wasn't just a queen advocating change, she was a woman speaking from experience. Public appearances began to look different too. Queen Mary's eyes sparkled again. King Frederik stood closer. Their hands, once rarely touching, were now often seen gently resting against each other. It was as if they were choosing each other all over again, one day at a time. But the true moment of redemption came during their royal tour of Greenland. Far from the whispers of Copenhagen, in the vast frozen beauty of the north, the couple walked hand in hand through snow-covered villages. They met with children, laughed freely, and spoke candidly with locals. And at one special moment, under the Arctic sky, Frederik pulled Mary aside and whispered something that made her cry, not tears of sorrow, but of hope. The world didn't hear the words, but her smile afterward told the story. They had made it through the storm. Still, the Danish royal family remains guarded. They never officially addressed the rumors, never confirmed or denied anything. But perhaps they didn't need to. Their story played out through their actions. Through their renewed unity. Through Queen Mary's revitalized strength and King Frederik's humility. It's important to remember that even royals are human. They love, they hurt, they fear, and they fight for what matters. In an age of perfection and curated lives, the silent courage to admit brokenness and the strength to rebuild is more powerful than any crown. Queen Mary's hidden tears were not a sign of weakness, they were proof of her humanity. And Frederik's brave move to save their family wasn't a grand gesture for the cameras, it was a quiet revolution that may have saved their marriage. As Denmark watches their king and queen move forward, wiser, more united, and more real, one can't help but wonder, in a world where fairy tales are expected of royalty, isn't the greatest love story the one that survives reality? Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to our channel if you want more real, emotional, and untold royal stories brought straight to you. What do you think? Is love enough to overcome betrayal at the highest level of power?